Hey there, hey there, hey there, hey there. Y'all hear me out there, good people? Y'all hear me out there, good people? This is Jay Jones coming to you live in full effect. Got a new location I'll be speaking from, new location I'll be coming from. Y'all hear me out there? Do y'all hear me out there? Do you hear me? Do you hear me out there? This is Jay Jones coming to you live in full effect, in color. And it is what it is show. We're talking about the what if scenarios. I'm asking y'all to go out there, tune in, share, making sure you share. We want to have a good, healthy discussion, healthy platform for us to talk about. And so, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to my phone and I'm going to make sure I do the same thing I asked you to do, which is to share. Let's get a healthy discussion going on. Y'all tell me what y'all want to talk about tonight. Y'all tell me what y'all want to discuss tonight because it's very important for us to make sure that we're out here having the candid conversation, talking about what's going on in Chatham County. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about Port Wentworth. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about City of Savannah. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about all those other things because you know what? It is what it is, and if we don't talk about it, we don't discuss it, then it ain't gonna go nowhere. So I'm asking y'all, I'm begging y'all. There you go. Share. Make sure that we're having a healthy discussion. We're gonna talk about the issues going on in Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia. Hey man, maybe I need to go ahead and start a newspaper to go ahead and partner up with what's going on here with ATR and all the other good stuff like that. Let's make sure we go out there and share, y'all. Let's make sure we go out there and share. What I'm planning on doing, give me, y'all, if y'all give me 2 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and send this thing out here to all my peoples out there in the wonderland, in the jungle, making sure that we have a good, healthy audience out here to listen to see what I got to say about what's going on here in Chatham County. Chatham County has a lot of things going on, and we need to have these healthy discussions because it's so important for us to make sure we're talking about the issues, bring them up to the microphone, discussing them, and fixing the problem when we can fix the problem. And the best way to fix those problems is to make sure that we are talking to those people who wish to be in leadership here in Chatham County. Yeah, we're gonna talk about redistricting. We're gonna talk about how the county commission and the school board both sent up proposals up to Atlanta, Georgia, and those things. Yeah, I got a new location, Mike. So we working on that. We're gonna work on lighting and everything like that. But I got a new location. So first off, let me get into this location where I can make sure we get better situated as far as the mic is concerned, aesthetics and everything like that. And we'll make sure the video is gonna be better. But I just want to make sure that you can hear my voice because that's more important right now than me looking at that video. Good evening. How you doing? Tanya Howard Hall, faithful member. Kia Robinson, appreciate you. Mike, I thank you. Rebecca Rose, appreciate you. Rose McGuire, thank you. Good evening to everybody. Let's make sure we share. Let's make sure we have a candid conversation, a nice audience, and a nice discussion right here because it's so important for us to make sure that we talk about the issues here locally in our community. Elections are right around the corner. While I go and do this, while I go ahead and ask people to join in the conversations, elections are right around the corner. We're going to have to make the decision in these primaries of who we want to represent us on the ballot come November the 8th, y'all. And I guarantee they are plotting and planning to make sure November the 8th they don't have the best candidates out there to defeat everything that we're trying to defeat out there. And I got some special guests that's going to start coming in March. I'm going ahead and line march up. I'm going to bring some exciting people throughout the state of Georgia, young people throughout the state of Georgia that's going to give us a different perspective of what's going on in their mind and how they can change the core structure of what's going on in our community. So once again, I ask you to share. I'm almost to that point. I'm past my time, so I got to put my cell phone down. Good evening, people. How y'all doing today? What y'all want to talk about first? Y'all want to talk about Port Wentworth? Y'all want to talk about City of Savannah? Y'all want to talk about what's going on with Chatham County and the school board and Chatham County Commission? We want to talk about what's going on with Chatham Area Transit. What y'all want to talk about, good people? Let's talk. Let's go. Well, Julius, I figured you would want me to start with Port Wentworth. So the plotting and planning going on in Port Wentworth. If you did not know, Port Wentworth City Government has had an election last November. The people of Port Wentworth spoke, and what they said is they wanted change. So they brought a whole brand new, a brand new slate of candidates into and I got you, Rose McGuire. We'll talk about gun violence next. A whole new slate of candidates to the platform, and that whole new slate has come with an agenda, and they want to move Port Wentworth forward. And so the people who have been placed for all this time have said that it's a hostile takeover, it's a hostile environment, and they've driven their car all the way up to go talk to the mayor of Port Wentworth. I mean, I'm not the mayor, the governor of the state of Georgia, and asked for clemency, asked for help, asked for assistance. And guess what? They did not get that assistance. They didn't get their help because you know what? The governor's not going to interfere in all that kind of politics. You know why? Because the people have spoken. The people said that these are people that we want to put in these positions, and these are people that we want to lead government. And so guess what? They're going to get their opportunity to bring in the right kind of core people. Now, me personally, if I would have been the city manager, I wouldn't have resigned. Y'all would have had to fire me because I know I would have been on contract somehow, some way, and y'all would have had to pay me out the term of my contract. And my thing is, it wouldn't have been very easy as he's had it. But you know what? I'm not in that position, but I would tell you I would have handled that situation a whole lot differently. Number two, I applaud the fact that city council, the people who are on city council for the most part, have not said anything. They've not budged. They've kept it kosher, kept it above water. And they said, hey, man, we're just going to wait till the next meeting. And then that's when we'll challenge the system. Because you know what? Sometimes it ain't meant for you to go back and forth. Now, I'm Adam, and I'm going to talk about this now. I've seen it on the front page of the Phantom Morning News. And my thing is, both sides of the story are not being shared. And it's a shame that the news outlets are not making sure both sides of the story are not being brought to the table. We should be listening to all those elected officials first, because guess what? They are the elected officials. But guess what? We like to sell newspapers. We like to sell TV ads. And you know what? Selling newspaper and TV ads, you got to sell controversy. And so rather than telling the truth and making sure that the controversy is a secondary item to it, because that don't sell. If you put in the newspaper that city council, for the most part, has been patiently waiting for the next council meeting, and by the way, that has been canceled by the current mayor because he doesn't understand, he doesn't know what he really wants to do in that position. And so it's controversy in that whole matter where we need to make sure we get to the root of it. We need to be having conversations. And my thing is, it shouldn't be this side against that side, and especially when you don't have the votes to actually move the narrative forward. We should be working together. We should be finding some kind of common ground, common language, common place where we can have that community conversation. When you know you lost, you just go ahead and suck it up and go ahead and move government in the way that the people have already spoken. And the people have spoken when they voted. Why are you trying to trump what the people have said? The people said that these are the people we want to elect. These are the people we re-elected. These are people in government position in 4 years, in 2 years. If they're not the ones who need to be moving the government forward, then somebody can step up and run against them and change the narrative moving forward. I think that's the candid conversation as far as that's concerned. I'm not going to spend time arguing with no news anchors or anything like that, because you know what? I rather put the real conversation right here on this platform. It is what it is, and to make sure that conversation is put out there so the people of Port Wentworth understand, if you have patience, if you believe in the leadership that's currently in play, they will fix the situation and make a difference. And I want you to understand this. I read an article back in 2017. This ain't the first problem. That was 4 years ago when somebody stepped in and said, y'all need to update your charter. Y'all need to update your mini code, your bylaws, and everything under the sun, your infrastructure design and everything under the sun. And y'all got enough money to make sure that you have more than 7-8 people working in city government that has a city government structure that has 10 to 20,000 people in it. There's no reason why you're still trying to operate in a small mentality as far as the municipality is concerned when you have all the resources and tools. You need to go out there and find you a city manager who actually can move the narrative forward, who can do some urban planning. Y'all heard that. Urban planning. They can do some infrastructure refab, making sure you have sidewalks along all those highways, making sure your police are working with the citizens and not against the citizens, not working to arrest citizens for going 5-10 miles over the speed limit, but working with them to find out why they're going 5-10 miles over the speed limit, talking to the people. And by far, with a place that has 10,000 people, there's no particular reason why y'all don't have y'all own facility, own major facility, where you can have events that can cater to 10, to 3 to 5,000 people at least starting off, and a maneuver all the way up to 10, 15,000 people. Port Wentworth has the opportunity to be the greatest city in Chatham County. Yeah, I said it, and I'm from Savannah, Georgia. Yeah, I said it. Port Wentworth has the opportunity to get out of the Mayberry mentality and become the lead city in Chatham County and be the one thing that can move the narrative forward. And so with that being said, that being quoted, I'm going to get off Port Wentworth because you know what? I already understand that you have a city council that's in play, that's elected by the people. And I know there's a lot of people that tried to play politics behind politics to make sure that that group of people didn't get in office. And there was a lot of people that played politics behind politics to get that group of people in office. But guess what? That group of people is in office. So Mayor, please step aside and work with those people to move the narrative forward and make Port Wentworth great without the again. And I will leave that piece right there on Port Wentworth. I'm moving on over to Savannah, Georgia. Savannah was pretty quiet this week, y'all. Savannah was pretty quiet this week. Other than Gladys Knight being at the thing, she didn't have the Pips with her, but she was there at the new arena. And so basically what they're trying to do is, I'm telling you right now, keep an eye out there. They're going to have Big Boy, Gladys Knight, Earth, Wind, and Fire, all these black acts at the beginning of the thing, because what they want to do is they want to soothe the minds of African Americans in Savannah, Georgia. Because what they don't want is when all these other events is sponsored by the chamber and all the privileged folk who really had the intentions of putting the arena in the middle of the hood. Yes, it was in the middle of the hood. Now, it was a building that really wasn't worth anything, but it was worthwhile. They took the opportunity to take that building and do a solid upgrade. And so with that being said, all I want to do is shots out to the new arena who made it possible to move the narrative forward in the black community. Now, I implore you black people who live in Carver Village, y'all black people who live in Cloverdale, y'all black people who even live on Augusta Ave, in Augusta Ave territory, I implore you, I ask you, I beg you to do this. Why don't you do this for me? Why don't you go to the arena, and while you watching that crowd go in and out, why don't you figure out what kind of asset that you can do as a black community to feed into what's going on in that arena. It's too late. Y'all not going to get rid of the arena. The arena is there. It's there to stay, y'all. And if we're going to keep fighting over the arena, it's not going to go anywhere. But if we look at the arena as an opportunity to bring economic wealth into the black community, if we look at the arena as saying, well, this is what we want to do. Josie Shepard shots out the Josie Shepard gas station. He got the only gas station on the corner across from the arena project. Josie Shepard, give me a piece of your pie. Before you sell it, let me know, and I'll be the one who pump gas at that gas station, because you know what? You got a gold mine in happening. If we are willing to make sure we look at those things around the arena project, and yes, we know that parking lot was a waste of money. It was a waste of time. But guess what? Somebody going to make some money off that. And ain't no use in crying over spilled milk. So why don't we go ahead and get with the arena project and find ways, Savannah citizens, find ways to make money off the arena instead of cursing the arena and saying something bad. Because them bright lights, when I came off of the highway off of 516, off of I-16, them bright lights are to stay. And so guess what? As long as you understand that they didn't stay, then there's no argument, there's no discussion. Now, Joe Pallet, I done already talked about Port Wentworth, so I'm not going back. I'm not going back to Port Wentworth. We already talked about the plot and plan of Port Wentworth. You need to look at this show again when the rebroadcast, whenever the producers of ATR put it out there to rebroadcast. Just need to go back and look at the beginning of that, because we already done talked about that. I'm on Savannah, Georgia now. Savannah, Georgia, Cloverdale. You got, and I know you just got on, my brother, but just hang on to the light-skinned brother. Drive this car until 9 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock, I promise you can go back to the page and you can look at everything I talked about. So Savannah, Georgia, back to y'all. When I talk about that arena project, it is so important that we step up to the gate and get into that money, making sure. And now I don't know if it was last week or the week before last, but sometime down the line, I talked about black people, black businesses getting together. I've been saying this. Our producer has, our executive producer has seen me say this all over Savannah, and I'm gonna continue to say this all over Savannah. What we need to do is we need to infiltrate the Savannah Chamber. And what I mean by that is we need to collectively get together. If we own a business, it pays $350 and buy a membership into the chamber. Oh, why would you want to give them white folk money? The reason why you want to give them white folk money, because them white folk money are the ones in control of the money that comes from the city of Savannah and comes from Chatham County. And they just put an agenda out there to the state delegation. And guess what? That state delegation is going to move probably 70-80% of those factors on that agenda that they were given. So my thing is, if we get involved right now with the Savannah Chamber and we put about 10, 15, 20, 30 African-American businesses, and then we have an ask for going on to 2022. Now, y'all, this calls for strategy and forward thinking. If we come together and put a strategy where we infiltrate the Savannah Chamber, and we start going to the chamber events and everything like that, and we start putting down what we would like to see as legislative agenda points that bear into the economics of building and making Savannah and Chatham County great, then guess what? We can do anything we want to do possible. But we got to understand it's called infiltration and strategy and then mobilization, and then make it happen. I spoke to a bunch of brothers at the barbershop the other day, and I said this same conversation. And in 30 days, I'm gonna go back to that barbershop and I'm gonna ask them, have they done what I asked them to do? Because this is the conversation I'm going to be talking about this whole freaking year. Because you know what? When we infiltrate what's going on as far as the chamber is concerned, we're getting more leadership graduates as far as Savannah leadership graduates concerned in African American skin tone. Because you know what? They realize they can no longer forget about that 50 plus percent population that exists in Savannah, Georgia, and that 42% that exists in Chatham County. They can no longer forget about it. They have to bring it up to the code. They have to bring it to the table. And you're absolutely right, Joe. It only takes 51%. And my thing is, it only really takes 15%, because you know what? When we get in there, we can change the rules. You're absolutely right, big brother. We can change the rules. But if we're not willing to play the game that they're playing, then we're always going to be the stepchild in the community that we traditionally have owned and should own, because we are the biggest consumer base in this market. And until they replace us as a working base, a consumer base, then they can't do nothing else but support and honor what our goals and wishes are. So I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. And they're not, and watch this, and they're not going to get the word out. Ivan, why in the heck would they want to bring in an entity that they haven't represented going on 20, 30, 40, 50 years? I wouldn't do it either if I was able to have business without having to be inclusive to populations that I didn't have to be inclusive to, other than the fact that they work in my hotels and they clean the beds in my hotels and they work in my restaurants. I wouldn't give them an opportunity or leg up either. So I somewhere down the line, we got to get it out of our mentality that somebody owe us something. Because if you ain't doing nothing to hold them accountable to owe us anything, then you just talking. You just whistling Dixie. And so it's so important that if we want what's right for us in our community, we need to step up and we need to go ahead and put businesses out there and put businesses involved into the actual chamber. Now, if you want to be involved in the black chambers, I don't have a problem with that either. But the narrative of green for this city all comes out of the chamber, the Savannah Chatham Chamber. Those appointments come from Savannah, Georgia. They come from Chatham County, and they dollars come from those entities too. And then guess what? When we talk about the Savannah, when we talk about the chamber, then we also need to be talking about SEDA, Savannah Economic Development Authority. That is supposed to be an authority that works for the betterment of you as an individual. And if you got a business, and I'm going to tell you right now, logistics, I'm going to say it right now. Logistics is number one. The movie theater is number two. Hotel motel is number three. And restaurants is number four. If you got something tied to those four, you can be talking to the CETA. And you can get your name tied to CETA. And you can actually do everything maneuverability-wise with the rights of the CETA. And so it's so important that we understand how the chamber works and how CETA works. Now, I told y'all I wasn't going to spend too much time on this one because I already been talking about it. And brother, Pastor Smalls, they gonna call me Uncle Tom because you know what? I'm telling them to join the major chamber, and I'm telling them that we don't have to have the black chamber or BEMA or anything else as our primary goal as far as the chamber is concerned, because the chamber, that the Savannah Chatham Chamber, costs $350 to join. It is a part of you, and it's to build economics for green. not white, not black, not Puerto Rican, not Chinese, not Asian, for green. And if you got a good idea and you got a good business, you should be involved in the actual Savannah Chatham Chamber of Commerce. Because you know what? Even if it's racist, even if it's a bunch of white privileged folk and everything under the sun, it's been like that because you didn't take the time to join it and fight it and do what we had to do. And yes, I do know that people have fought the chamber throughout the time and throughout the years. But guess what? Now is a new day and a new age, and we need to collectively get together and bargain and make sure we force the chamber in 2022 when we get the elected people we need to get in the state committee. Because I'm gonna talk about that too. When we get the people we need to have in those state elected positions, those state reps, we have 6 of them. Those 3 state senate, we have 3 of them. If we get the right people involved in those 9 seats that represent Chatham County, then we can effectuate change. The city of Savannah can't do nothing unless they play good with the state level. Chatham County can't do nothing unless they play good with the state level. And that's what's been going on. See, we've been bamboozled. We've been so caught up in what's going on in the city of Savannah. The real fight we should be fighting is on them state level seats. That's where the money, that's where the play, that's where the power plays at. But you know what? We have been playing this thing, and people, my advice is not to trust establishments, Democrat or Republican. Hey man, that's your power, that's your play. If we want the laws to change, we take the state senate, state representative seats. And unfortunately in the South, if you're not playing Republican or Democratic politics, you're not going to get them seats. I think we about 10, 15 years, 20 years max before we can have that real conversation. And let me go ahead and get these. The chamber gets more than $10 million tax dollars. Our dollars are included. You're absolutely right. That money is green money. It ain't black money. It ain't white money. It's white money because guess what? We sit there and talk bad about them people and we don't buy into those systems. And that's why we don't get anything from that. Savannah Chamber is not exactly known for getting the word out about them in the inner city in Midtown. Like I said, they ain't going to do that because you know what? They don't want to get that money up. If I control the pot, I wouldn't give you an opportunity to get dollars out of my pocket either. And that's the mentality you got to start having. Leonard Small, people have been fighting the forces for years. Your own people sell us out. They lie to us, to our face and forces. But you know what? The problem with them lies is, Brother Joe, the problem with them lies is, guess what? We don't step up to the plate and run for public office. And we keep allowing those same, people who sell out to get in those seats over and over and over again. My problem is this. I don't give a damn if they're going to win or not. My thing is you run somebody against everybody and you hold their ass accountable. Because if you ran against them, then guess what you can do? You can hold them accountable. If you don't run against them, you can't hold them accountable. It's period, point blank, Joe. And everybody know who the sellouts are in our community. I don't have to say that on here. Y'all already know. But the problem is y'all want me to call them out so we can talk about it, but ain't nothing gonna happen because y'all gonna let the sellouts who we want to talk about on all the shows, all the platforms, all the conversations, and guess what? We do absolutely positively nothing because the one thing they can't say. Now I'm gonna say this because I can say this personally. The one thing Chester can't do to me is Chester can't tell me a lie because you know what? I ran against Chester. I lost to Chester. I ran against Chester. And the people can't say nothing about me because when I lost to Chester, guess what? I can hold Chester accountable because you know why I can do that? I ran against him. But we don't understand how politics works. That's what the problem is in Port Wentworth. Port Wentworth was eating without having to share. And now they got to share. That's the problem. That same entity can happen to all our state seats. That same conversation can happen to all our seats in Savannah. It can happen to Chatham County. It can happen to all of Chatham County as far as all the positions across the board. But we got to be willing to step up and make sure we hold folk accountable. And my thing is, I shouldn't have to call anybody names out there. Y'all know what Negroes is selling us out. And I didn't say the other word, Jewish, so don't hurt me. I said Negroes. I didn't say the other word, Jewish, so don't hold me. Y'all know who's selling us out. Y'all know who is not doing and holding up accountable to the position. But guess what? If you keep voting them back in over and over and over again, you keep not running nobody against them over and over and over again. Now I sound like one of them old Negro spirituals because guess what? They're going to keep doing just what they are allowed to do until you step up and run for public office. All right. Peace, love, and light, and light, my brother. Yes, sir. Word. Sometimes you don't have to win the seat. You just need to scare them to do the right thing. You are absolutely right, Joe. They've been sitting warming for years. You're absolutely right, man. You can't trust the leadership. And I see that link, and y'all click that link. I don't know what that link is, Margot, so I'm going to stay out of that conversation. Each one, reach one. Each one, reach one, teach one. You got to add the T there, brother. Each one, teach one, reach one. You got to add that T there, brother. Each one, reach one, teach one. You got to make sure that all that's added into that conversation, because if we just keep sitting back and not holding people accountable, we're going to keep getting what we've been getting. And that's why you got arguments up at City Council in Savannah, Georgia. That's why you got what's going on in Port Wentworth. That's why you got what's getting ready to happen in Chatham County. Because guess what? I can tell you right now, there was some BS behind the reason why they sent maps up there, and the new maps are coming out. If y'all ain't seen it yet, y'all need to keep up with the news. They got a whole brand new set of maps. And for those people who are running for the Board of Education seats, all the seats in the Board of Education are actually running on the old 2011 maps. They're not going to have enough time to be able to update the maps. And so please, if you plan on running and you done put some signs in the new areas that you don't need to be putting in, make sure you fix that where you can make that happen. And it's so important that we have better set of candidates. Somebody said this conversation, and it was right along with what I had to say. They like to see multiple people in races. You know why? Because when you got a multitude of people in races, what tends to happen is you forces people to get out their comfort zone, and they got to get out there and reach and touch that person who they would normally be touching. It's so important that we make sure we touch those conversations, because if we make sure we touch those conversations, we make sure we touch those people, we make sure we touch those flagpoles. That's how we make things happen. It's so important. Oh yeah, and that I try to stay away from calling out names, but Julius will tell you 2 years ago when that Joker got in office, I said that Joker gonna act a fool the first 2 years. In the last 2 years, he gonna make sure that he is godly and he trying to bring everybody together. My kingdom come, thy will be done. Now he started the year off wrong. I didn't expect this move that he came with, but guess what? You know, to each his own. And if he feels that's the best move he needs to have to get back in that seat, God be with him until we see each other again. It is so important that we need to make sure that we're looking at these seats and we hold people accountable and we raise a new generation of thinking and leaders. And I did not say a young generation. I said a new generation, a generation of leaders who are not fearful to speak up for the downtrodden, the left out, the unregarded, those people who sleeping on the street at nighttime, those people who living in their car at nighttime, those people who living under the bridge right down the street off President Street. All those people, the dogs, the cats, the meows, and everything under the sun. We need to make sure we have leaders who are pathological about making sure they reach and talk to the people that they serve, and not sitting back there and following the economics that runs the economy, because that is the problem. We must make sure that we have the right kind of people running for public office across the board. And guess what? That means a mixture of people, a mixture of ideas, but it should never be slated to a point where no government can actually grow and move into a better cycle, because that's when you have chaos and destruction. And so I didn't talk so much about politics. I want to kind of get away from politics. I'm at my 30-minute mark. The most recent maps submitted were not approved by the school board and 7 of the county commission. And you're absolutely right. But that's what you get with the state leadership that you send up there. Because my thing is, you got state reps and state senators who could have been fighting. And my thing is, we need to check to see what our 9 delegation members, how they voted when it came to this map. And we want to make sure we got answers how they voted when it came to this map. Because you know what? If it was a 5-4 split, then we understand that the I'm sorry, if it's 9 of them, it was a 5-4 split. We want to make sure that what they did with adding that other state senate is brought to the table. And guess what? That means we need to run somebody against every single person who refused to change the map. Because you know what? We can no longer accept mediocrity. We need to be standing up. We need to be at the county commission. We need to be at the school board meetings. We need to be at the city of Savannah meetings. We need to be at the state house, state rep meetings. We need to be flooding their emails with all kind of email conversation. Because you know what? The only way we're going to change these problems is we hold them accountable. And guess what? If they don't want to be held accountable, then we hold them accountable. March the 7th through the 11th, you go up to Atlanta, Georgia, and you go ahead and you file a declaration form and you run against these jokers. I don't even care if you know you're going to lose. You run against them because you know what? That's how you get them. You scare them into doing right. That's the problem. And guess what? That's a Democrat problem and a Republican problem. Yeah, I said it. Quote me on it. I might be wrong, but I doubt it. I just used two proverbial quotes as far as what goes on. It is so important that we make sure we do right by our people. 31 minutes in. It is what it is, y'all. It is what it is. The what if scenarios. And we're going to talk about these what if scenarios. We're going to close out with these what if scenarios. What if we did what happened in Port Wentworth throughout the whole government structure? How would transit look like? How would poverty look like? How would the housing crisis look like? How would homelessness look like? How would the school system look like? How would governance look like? It is so important that we take the time to take the what ifs and put it in our head and challenge the system. Because if we're not willing to challenge the system, we accepting whatever's given to us. And so I said I was going to be quiet on that one right there. I'm going to leave that one right there. Right there. We got elections coming up right around the corner. I want to see who's going to step forward and step up and run for public office. Don't be scared. If you lose, you lose. But lose with heart and dignity and trust. And let that person know that you lost too. That look here, I'm coming for you. And if it's a 2-year bid, I'll see you in 2 years. If it's a 4-year bid, I'll see you in 4 years. But if we're not willing to comfort these people, y'all don't hear me. If we're not willing to comfort these people, if you're not willing to comfort these people, you're going to keep losing. Yeah. Well, you received the email from I guess you meant to say Ossoff office today. The answer seems arrogant. Hey, Rose, let me know what it is, and I'll see what I can do as far as talking to them. First rule is don't believe anything your state representative says. The deals get made behind closed doors long before we ever know it exists. God bless. Have a great weekend. Time for change. And Joe, you're absolutely right. But guess what, Joe? If you get elected in that seat, you ain't got to worry about them doing deals behind closed doors. Because guess what? You can make sure you bring it to the front, and you can make sure it's in the open where everybody gets to see the deal. I appreciate it, Joe. Enjoy your weekend. It's a 3-day weekend, y'all. Happy President's Day on Monday. I'll be celebrating, you know what? My favorite president. I got my shirt on. My favorite president. Y'all see it right there. He gave me hope. He made it possible for an African American to actually run and win the White House. So I appreciate it. Shouts out to Obama. I wore my shirt because it's President's Day on Monday, and I won't be here, but I'll make sure the show actually passes on. Speak about the Savannah Historic Foundation and their plans to address homelessness. What if things would be forced to change? You're absolutely right. Going into speaking about the Savannah Historic Foundation, I haven't dug too deep in the weeds of it, but from what I'm gathering, I can't think of the community right there, but it's right down the street from me. Color Brownsville Historic Society, Savannah Historic Society stated that Color Brownsville has enough small houses where it can address some issues as far as homelessness is concerned. My question, and I put it on when they put it out there, I put the question out there. My question was this: I said, okay, who's going to be the gatekeeper? Who's going to be in charge to make sure that homeless comes off the street and maneuvers into those houses? That was my only big question, because my thing is, if you fix up the houses and you have, and the entity is a private entity, even if they say it was 30% of the houses or 30 houses in that area or vacant houses, if you took those houses and you actually gave it to a private entity, they can actually turn around and sell the property. So my first question, and like I said, I haven't done a deep dive into it, but my first question was, who would be the gatekeeper? Who has the keys to those 30 houses? Who is going to be the one that says we can flip this neighborhood? Because my thing is this: I've been to Kansas City, and saw houses smaller than some of them houses they talked about, and those houses were in the $300,000-$400,000 range, and that is not affordable housing. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I didn't see it where I done went to LA, Los Angeles County, and I saw houses that same size, $500,000. I mean, I just don't see it. And so my thing is, and then I also understand that those houses on 37th Street, which is in the middle of Color Brownsville, those houses go anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000-$600,000. So my goal is to understand how is that equity going to be depreciated or appreciated where homeless can actually benefit from it. And my thing is, I would much rather you looking not rather than homelessness, but looking at working class poor. I think working class poor, because they can come up with some kind of financial contribution to it. You know what? That's the area we need to be going through. And so my thing is, Melinda, me and you gonna have a healthy discussion. I know we talked briefly about it earlier this week. Me and you need to have a healthy dialogue about it to make sure that I got all those questions that were asked, because I only ask questions on Facebook because I'm not invited, because, you know, I don't get invited to nothing in Savannah, Georgia. I don't know why they don't invite me. I guess they don't like me because I'm light skinned. I'm still trying to figure out why I don't get invited. I'm a former, when I was an elected official, I didn't get invited to anything. So I can care 2 cents less about what I get invited to and what I don't get invited to no more, because you know what? I'm going to live my life the way I need to live my life. And my thing is, if you don't want to invite me, that's cool, tough. I'll move on and move forward. And so we're going to have a healthy discussion about that, but we're going to have to have an offline discussion, because it's so important for us to make sure that we're discussing these conversations, because you know what? If it's going to be tied to homelessness, that's cool. But me personally, I think that they should reevaluate the conversation, and they should be looking at the working class poor to make sure they provide housing structure for them, because you know what? That will be the testing. And look at you. You supposed to be gone, but then you back to talk about legalized marijuana. But I'll talk about that. Let me see what's going on. Many questions should be raised, and you're absolutely right, and many answers should be given as well. And you're right. We'll make sure we make that the next week topic, Ivan. I'm gonna bring you in the conversation. I'm gonna bring Melinda in the conversation, so we can raise that conversation, because you tell the truth, and that's the reason why Rufus. I guess that's the reason why they don't want me around, because I run my mouth and I tell the truth, and those are two things they want. They want everybody to be cookie cutter and everything under the sun. Producer, go ahead and put up Joe's last thing up there. I'm gonna go ahead and address his thing. Legalize marijuana, and use the revenue for infrastructure, include fixing the homeless problem with it also. Then go to a fair tax system that will eliminate the property tax and school tax from property owners. It is an easy fix with the right people. And I'm gonna put this out here. How many of y'all realize and know that there are a couple of taxes or a couple of fees that we pay in Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia, that are what you call unrestricted funds? I had a friend of me and talked about this. The water. Can somebody get me a breakdown on where that money from the water that the city of Savannah collects throughout Chatham County, Effingham, and Bryan County, and other areas, even I think some parts of South Carolina even buy into the water system here in Chatham County, here in Savannah, Georgia. And so my thing is this: who is in charge? Where is the water money? Next week, Mr. Producer, I'm gonna call my name Water Boy. I'm gonna be Water Boy next week, because I want to know where all the money, all the revenue that's collected in Savannah, Georgia, all that money tied to the water, where is it going? The other fee, the other money that's going out there, the other part of money is parking. Parking is another unrestricted fund, another unrestricted capital fund. So those two capital funds have unrestricted revenue. Where is all that money? Yeah, Joe, we can legalize marijuana, and that's probably going to take state statute. And guess what, Joe, I'm going to tell you right now, marijuana going to be legalized in the next 10 years, because you know what? Them people up there in privilege, up there in Atlanta, Georgia, they already got locations in counties up in North Georgia already starting the process legal marijuana for medicinal purposes, not for personal purposes, but for medicinal purposes. And that's going to trickle down eventually down here into the bottom half of the state. So you best believe it's coming, my friend. It's coming, my friend. It's coming, my friend. And I hear you as far as eliminating property tax and school taxes from the property owner. I hear you on that. But my thing is, first off, my quorum with school is, if school systems don't change how the methodology of how they're educating our kids, you're gonna have more and more people mass exodus as far as schools are concerned. Because guess what? If you can afford to take care of your kid outside of the school system, people are gonna take their kids out of the school system anyway. It's just a matter of time. If churches were smart, especially Baptist denominations and Methodist denominations, if they were smart, they would collaborate. They would collaborate within their own confines and own structures, and they would create schools, and then they would start hitting those populations as far as African Americans concerned, especially with those kids who are not always the good kids. Those kids can be put into those systems, and those churches can make a lot of money. And guess what? There are systems out here that make these things happen. You just got to go out there and follow all the different models throughout the United States of America. And I know I dropped a whole lot of language right there when I talked about fees, and I talked about the school system and taxes, and we talk about property taxes. You got to have some kind of taxation system out there to be able to generate revenue. And my thing is, the easiest way to do it is to make sure you do it through property taxes. And there is not a school tax, it's just a property tax. And the school system benefits 51% of that property tax. So we also got to understand and know that that's how that whole system works there. And yes, Ramona, parking, utility, water, follow the money, because the money will tell you everything there is. And I'm waiting for somebody to ask the question about where is the money going for the utility, waters, and parking. It's a simple question. Show me an itemized report of how money is being collected and move it forward. And you're right, but those are state models, brother. Those are state models. Florida and Tennessee are state models, and they're Republican states too. And guess what? They understand, and their model is to reduce taxes. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. But the problem with the state of Georgia is Georgia has 159 counties. And that means you got 159 ways to do things. And the first problem in Georgia is, guess what? The tax system in Georgia is messed up because you got to reduce that 159 counties maybe to 100 counties. Now, do you think 59 counties are going to give their power and structure up? That ain't happening. And so because we have so many counties, Tennessee and Florida have nowhere near the amount of counties we have. Matter of fact, Jackson County, Duval County is just as big as the 1st Congressional District. Did you catch that? Duval County is just as big as the 15 counties in the 1st Congressional District. When you have that much calamity, when you talk about leadership countywide, and then you talk about that statewide, you talk about the leadership structure, and we have such a messed up system as far as the county structure is concerned, because in Georgia, when they were giving out, you can get a county, you can get a county, you can get a county. And that's how they were giving out counties back in the early 1700s. And guess what? Now we're suffering it maybe 100, 150 years later. And it's because that was the reason why it has 159 counties is because remember, Georgia was at the bottom of the state. Florida wasn't established. Georgia was at the bottom of the state, and Georgia was the state that everybody wanted to have ownership. And so what they did, and you can go to Wikipedia. If you go to Wikipedia and you go county by county, it'll tell you who the county is named after, and it'll tell you how that county was formed. And so my thing is, if you look at it, you got 159 counties that were formed because you had 159 people who you had to take care of. And until we are willing to reserve those 159 different structures, because all 159 counties have a different system of how to do things. And then let's take it a step further. You got 159 counties, and you got close to 3,000 cities within those counties. And so you got cities that have 30 people. Yes, I said it. You have cities that have 30 people. You have cities that have 1 million plus people. You have most cities that are anywhere between 10,000 to 30,000 people. But guess what? They have those different structures. And because you have all that, you cause calamity. And you can't, when you have too many different mouths you got to appease, you can't appease the structure. Even if we got a Democrat in the governor's house, it would take 3 or 4 years to dismantle the system that's been put in place. And so that's why it's so important. That's why it's so hard, Rebecca, and for us to make sure that is why it is what it is. And we got to make sure we fix the system. And yes, Joe, the tax system, I believe, is broken. Joe, there's probably 15 different ways I can give you tax breaks in this community. But for what I was told, I wasn't valuable enough to be put in that position to make this thing happen. And so why that is, I can't answer that question. I'm here on this microphone, and I'm not on the microphone at Chatham County every other Friday to make those decisions, brother. Because I can guarantee I would have had a better plan than what we got going on right now. And I'm not dogging him out because he has his way and I have my way. And that's just the way it is. It is what it is, y'all. And so y'all done gave up on the comments. So I'm gonna go back into my story and start driving. And so when we have these conversations, y'all, when we have these conversations collectively as a body of people, when we are not scared to step into the zone and hold folk accountable, that's when we'll actually change things. Towns in the rural areas decline. Nothing there for the young people. They go for the bright lights in the big city. And the big city and the bright lights, yes. But the problem with that is the big city and bright lights don't have the accountability. And those people from those rural areas end up going back to those rural areas after they spend about 4 or 5 years trying to adjust in the big city, in the bright lights in the big city. And so it needs to come to a play. And I can tell you right now, in the first congressional district, things are changing. Port Wentworth wasn't the only city that changed. You had change in Waycross, you had change in Brunswick, you had change in other little small cities. You got change in some counties that's coming up. You got changes coming up in some cities across the board. You got to look at it. And yes, Pooler is next on the map. I encourage y'all, let them folk in Pooler know that Pooler will not be the same Pooler at the beginning of 2024. I said that in my speaker voice real low because I want everybody to know Pooler is next up for the change. And you know what else? Garden City and Pooler are next up for the change. I'm not even touching Savannah because you know what? Savannah gonna fix itself. But I'm gonna make sure that all these small municipalities around Savannah will have the change it needs to make sure that we do what's right for this community. Okay, I'm back. So with that being said, that being focused, we at the 47-minute mark. I got 13 minutes to go, y'all. 13 minutes to the finish line. Yes, we are almost to the finish line. I talked about, I'll make sure I got everything right. I talked about Port Wentworth. I talked about the city of Savannah. Springfield, I would have said Rankin before I said Springfield. Springfield is on the cusp, but Rankin is going to get changed first. Rankin is just waiting for people to run. Because watch this. The same people in Port Wentworth are the same people in Rankin, y'all. I can tell you this right now. The only difference is they're in Effingham and we're in Chatham. Springfield can be flipped and changed too, but it just got to have some courageous people to get out there. I didn't mean to say Springfield. Rankin can be flipped too. And then after Rankin, then you focus on Springfield. Springfield has not grown as fast as Rankin. Rankin is probably about the same size as Port Wentworth, and it has the same population structure because you know what? Federal dollars forced the issue why Port Wentworth is the way it is and Rankin is the way it is because federal dollars said that when you got into these home buyer programs, when people was applying for these home buyer programs, they told you that they encourage you to go into mid-capital locations like Rankin, Port Wentworth, and Pooler at the time because the equity to buy the square footage was nowhere near what the square footage was in Savannah. And what they wanted to do was reduce the interior portions, yes, gentrification, the interior portions of the Savannah area and push it out to the actual. What is your take on Vernon? Vernon is a long street. Is more or less, to me, it's like an island, and it's probably no more than 40 people out there. And my thing is, let them 40 rich people have the way they want to live. They keep everything in-house. They have to buy their groceries in Savannah. They have to do everything else in Savannah. And so my thing is, I just treat it like its own little island. And my thing is, if you can afford to go out to Vernon, by all means, go out there and live in Vernon because that's just the way it is. Savannah's on the verge of flipping. The gentrification of housing and housing market is causing minorities to leave. Yes, they are leaving Rose, but they're going to the outskirts. They're going to the non-traditional portions of Savannah, Georgia. They're going to the outskirts of the west side, which is the Berwick area, the Stockbridge area, and those areas in front of it. They're going to the south side, which traditionally is the Georgetown area, south side, Windsor Forest, Coffee Bluff, all that area over there. They're going to Pooler. They're going to Port Wentworth. They're going to Richmond Hill. They're going to Effingham County. They're going to the outskirts, but it doesn't mean that they're abandoning Chatham County. and see roads. What we got to look at is the bigger picture is not Savannah. The bigger picture is Chatham County. Because my thing is Chatham County has a guaranteed pool of money that's going to always come. Savannah, Georgia won't always have that. Savannah, Georgia is dependent on its own tax structure. And if and at any time, the charter can be taken away from Savannah, Georgia, but you can never take the charter away from Chatham County. It would have to be done constitutionally speaking from the state. And the state ain't going to do that. And like I said earlier in our conversation, they're not even going to work on that. And we already done talked about Springfield, so I'm not going to reiterate that piece right there. Just keep an eye on that these little small bedroom communities. If you don't know what a bedroom community is, that means they sleep, eat, and do everything they can in those communities. They pay their taxes in those communities, and then they come in Savannah and they work, and they take their tax dollars, and they working dollars back out to the outsides of the community. So those bedroom communities are going to flourish. But what's going to happen is Bryan County, Effingham County, those government structures will flip eventually, and they'll become more Democratic based. They'll become more liberal based because like you said, people are going to move to the outskirts. People are going to move into Pooler. People like Port Wentworth was the best example at the beginning of this conversation. More people have moved to Port Wentworth, which caused a flip on the structure right there. And so if we understand the powers that be and we do what we got to do, then guess what? We move the first forward. And yes, I think that Springfield, but the problem is with Springfield is you have a government structure that's being very divisive as far as allowing people to move into Springfield. And so my thing is, if Springfield is on the map for that, that's cool. You still got tons of opportunity that can happen in Port Wentworth. Port Wentworth structure still hasn't even probably hit 30% of the market rate of what it should be. So you're going to probably have another 70% of houses being bought in the Port Wentworth, and especially when you have a turnover with government structure that's going to slow down on warehouse and build more on family oriented housing and living and everything like that. You're going to have that stronghold is going to happen in Port Wentworth because communities like that already have identified and put a new core structure of leadership. So you got to look at transit's going to eventually come into Port Wentworth. You got to look at park and recreation is going to come into Port Wentworth. You got to look at they're going to create job markets and job ideals outside of the market of warehouses, outside the market of hotels and everything like that. No, CAT does not go anywhere past Garden City, and it only goes into the hood side of Garden City, and that's as far as Chatham Area Transit goes. So no, you don't have CAT going out there. But now that you have leadership that understands it needs a transit system, it will help and work out with Chatham Area Transit, and it'll create its own monetary system there, and then that monetary system will flow into the city of Savannah. And what that does is that help reduces traffic. But for years, because we're too scared of the model when it comes to we're too scared when it comes to the model of being taxed, we never allowed those situations to happen. St. Patrick's Day and COVID, Omicron is pretty much on the decline. Omicron is on the decline. St. Patrick's Day. My thing is this, man. I'm not against St. Patrick's Day because St. Patrick's Day is Savannah's moneymaker. We can get into the weeds of St. Patrick's Day is accepting what it's accepting, and MLK is not accepting. My thing is this. And I've been on the MLK board, so I can speak candidly about it. MLK really wanted to have that parade. They could have had that parade. That's how I'm going to look at it. I'm going to leave it at that. For whatever reason it is, MLK Association, just like the St. Patrick's Day Association, St. Patrick's Day understands it's an economic driver for the community. If you take out the color and the race, I'm not even going to put this blame on the mayor no more. If you take out the color and the race, somewhere down the line, we as a black people, we were scared to make sure we had the MLK parade. And my thing is, I don't know why. We didn't have football games. We didn't have basketball games. We didn't have all kind of things under the sun. We should have moved forward with the MLK parade. And if they want to, and my thing is this, if the mayor want to say that the MLK parade was on the MLK parade committee, then I'm going to hold the MLK parade committee accountable for why we did not have the parade. And it should have been held. And that, I'm going to leave it at that. Now, from what I heard, that it was going to be rescheduled to April the 4th. And April the 4th, if you didn't know that, April the 4th, 1968, I believe, that was the assassination of MLK. And they wanted to make sure that they use a date that was trademarked to that piece right there. And my thing is, I don't have a problem with that. If the MLK parade is going to be on April the 4th, I cheer it. I'll be there. I'll make sure I'll be in the parade, waving at everybody else just like we should be. As far as St. Patrick's Day parade, I just think I've never been a fan of the St. Patrick's Day, but I understand it is an economic driver. And my thing is, being an economic driver, I done been out here in this world with and without a mask, and guess what? If it's an economic driver and so the city of Savannah needs to bring some economics here, I'm not against it. I'm not for it. My thing is, rather than being fussing and hating on it and anything like that, find a way to make money off it. That's what I would say, because it's an economic driver. If you really want to hold them accountable, find ways to make money off of it, and make sure that they're letting you get the same kind of money they letting the other folk get. And that's how I look at it. And you know, I know somebody done called me. Oh, there you go, James or Uncle Tom again. There you go, James ain't listening to the people. No, I'm listening to people. I told you from the beginning of this thing right here, it's about economics for me from now on. I'm about making sure I take care of the bottom line for Jay Jones and his family, because you know what? In the end, when it comes down to it, I got to eat in order to live. And I'm going to eat in order to live. Now, am I going to, I almost said it, Jules, I'm going to call myself, am I going to dump on somebody to make my money? No, I didn't say that. But what I am saying is I'm going to start working toward making my bottom line work toward for me. And so it is what it is, y'all. It is what it is. We talked about some issues. We're going to come back to Historical Society next week. I promise you, Ivan, I'll make sure I talk about that at the beginning of the show. The economic drive is going to the River Street, to Victory Drive this year to Gold Cup Zone being expanded. And you're absolutely right. But what are we doing to make sure we get some of that money? City blocking vendors not in the click from benefiting St. Patrick's Day. Then what you should be doing is you find out why. Put it this way, Melinda. I'm going to tell you just like this. Any vendor who has tried to get in and could not get in, my phone number is 912-228-2205. I'll do the full investigation for you. I'll make sure I bring Julius Hall, because I know one thing I know about Julius Hall. Julius Hall is the best investigator I ever known in my life, because he'll get to the bottom of if that's true or not true. And then what we'll do is, if it's true, then we'll expose the people who actually been blocking from this thing happening. And it's so important. Was some statewide candidate in town today? Yes, we did have statewide candidate in town today. Nicole Horns, who's running for labor commissioner, was in town today. As state elected officials come in town, they say, Jay, I want a platform piece and everything like that. When they come in town, what I do is I give them a place to actually have the conversation. And my thing is, I want to give everybody an opportunity to meet every candidate out there in the world, because I don't want anybody saying they voted for anybody they didn't know. That's a bold-faced lie. So I'm going to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to meet every Democratic county. I'll make sure I stress that, every Democratic county. I don't know about the Republican county, but I'll make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to meet every Democratic county on the ballot that may be on your ballot that's coming to Chatham County. And with that being said, good people, I'm at my 2-minute break. I got to get ready to close. But it is what it is. And what if scenarios would change if you're willing to ask the question, what if? Peace, y'all. Love you.
Like that.